There's no reason to pretend. If I do it once, I do it again. Add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up. I'm just doing me, everything is on me. Oh, you matter what? Add it up.
Welcome to another video. So this is the second rack. This is the Big Daddy, another 42 RU rack. So we're going to go through all this in great detail, but just to reiterate, the first video was the first rack, the termination rack. So all the wires in the house will terminate into that rack, and from this rack here it will connect into that rack. The reason that I've done it this way is if I ever need to sell the house, I could just leave the termination rack and take this rack out if the person buying it doesn't like home automation or anything like that. That way I can save myself some cash and put this in my new house or whatever needs to. I apologize for the mess. Obviously we're moving soon and everything's just there's no space around the house, but here we go. So at the top, we'll just go through it. Actually, I'll show you what it looks like and what's the gear inside. There you go. So 42 RU, quite a few gear in there. Okay, so let's start from the top. Right at the top, another AC Infinity fan, top exhaust. So this is going to be sealed as well, front door, side doors, back door. All the hot air from all the equipment will rise, and this will exhaust it out through the top. This will exhaust it out through the top. That way it keeps the all the equipment nice and cool. It has a temperature probe, which is somewhere in the middle, which I'll set to maybe 24-26 degrees. If the heat gets to that point, it will start to activate. It's got 4 different levels, and depending on how high the temperature is, it will ramp up the fan. Unfortunately, this is not Wi-Fi controlled, so it can't alert me that there's a problem. It will start beeping, but because it'll be in a rack room, I won't be able to hear it. So what I might do is just get a Philips Hue temperature sensor and just put it in the room, and if it gets too hot, I'll get a notification about that's the problem, what the problem, and try to fix it. Underneath that, I have a 1U blank plate, and underneath that, this is the Control 4 CA10 controller. So this is going to run the whole brains of the house, basically every process in the house. This will know. It will know which speakers to turn on, which speakers to turn off, which TV to turn on. It will know the state of every light. So everything will be running through this controller. Underneath that, 24 port pass through. So that and that. And then this is just a USW 24 port with 16 ports, which are PoE. The purpose of this one is just to supply internet to all the devices in this rack. Over here we have a 3U blank plate. Behind this is a shelf, and on that shelf will be sitting all the video components, NVIDIA Shield, Apple TV, maybe DVD player, or anything else that I need throughout the house. At the moment it would just be an NVIDIA Shield and an Apple TV. Underneath that, this is called a video matrix. It's a Control 4 video matrix. Basically all those video outputs connect to this, and then this goes out to all the TVs. That way you can watch the same thing on all TVs at the same time, or watch different things, and this just controls that all. It's got 6 outs, but I only have 3 TVs, so still have a little bit more that I can upgrade to. Underneath that we have another blank plate. So the blank plates usually separate out all the equipment, help out with temperature control. And then underneath that, these are two Control 4 EA5 controllers. So these are not the controllers for my project, but they could run a project if you wanted to. These are just going to be used as my audio outs for streaming Spotify, which is normally what we use in our house. Might get Tidal just to get better output, more high res, but these should suffice for just Spotify. I have two of them, which will allow me to have I think 5 outputs per each, which will be about 10 outputs, so you can stream 10 different things at the same time if you wanted to. I don't think I'll ever get to that point, but just there if I need to. Underneath that is a single and a 2U blanking plate, and behind this there's a shelf which I have all my audio zones. So I'm gonna put a Sonos port there, and any other, hopefully in the future I might get something that can allow me to have Spotify Direct on all the touchscreens instead of using Spotify Connect, but still trying to figure out the best way to do that. Underneath that is this Triad 24 audio matrix. So basically it will take out all the audio outs from in here, go into inputs on the Triad, and then all the out from there it outputs to the amplifiers, and then that controls the volume, controls which zone turns on. Also, because it's part of Control 4, it has an equalizer built into it, which you can change depending on how the room sounds to make it sound better. Okay, so underneath it I have 4 Triad 8-zon amplifiers, 1, 2, 3, 4. So those come out from the audio matrix, and then they amplify the signal, and then the signal goes out through the back to all the speakers. I've bridged to every single output, so effectively it's just each has become a 4-zone amplifier. That's helped with, I guess, just having higher output, more power per zone to power up the speakers. Underneath that we have the Anthem MRX 740, which is my AVR for the theater. The theater is going to be a 7.1.4 to start off with. I'll have only 2 subwoofers, but the end game is going to have 4 subwoofers. Not sure if they're going to be 15s or 18s, but at the moment I have 2 subwoofers. Underneath that there's 2 amplifiers. These are to amplify the zones from the Anthem. Obviously these are underpowered for the speakers that I have, but a future upgrade is going to get a 11-zone amplifier to amplify the speakers, to power the speakers. Then underneath that I have 2 a Yamaha PX5 and a Crown XLS 1002. I want to change out the Crown to a PX5, and then as a future upgrade this is going to power the subwoofers. This will power 2, and then the other one will power 2, so we'll have 4 total subwoofers in the theater, but that's future upgrades. So that's a look at the rack. I'm gonna spin it around and we can take a look at the back, and you can see all the cable management, what I've done in the back. I think I've done okay, but obviously I'm not an integrator, so an integrator could have probably made some changes and made it look better, but this makes sense to me. So we've spun it to the back, and you can see all the cable management. So looking through the back at the top, we have the AC Infinity fan right at the top, blank plate, the CA10 processor. Then we have all these Ethernet cables supplying data to this rack, 24 port switch, and then this is the video shelf where I'll have Apple TV and Video Shield, everything else that we're going to distribute through the house. This is the video matrix. As you can see, got 3 Cat6a cables distributing to 3 TVs into the house. And then it also has an audio matrix, which I've just plugged in on RCA out. Underneath it, I have 2 EA5s. The purpose for these is just audio distribution. So I have 8 zones in total. So I could play 8 different Spotify streams throughout the house, depending on what I want to do. And underneath that, we have an audio shelf for all the audio sources, other audio sources like Sonos, anything else that I want to add into the house. Underneath that, this is the audio matrix. So 17 zones with, if you can see just here, 2 subwoofers at the moment, but wired for 4. Whenever I add some, I'll add the subwoofers. Underneath that, we have the amplifiers. So each channel is bridged to get more power output. You have the RCAs coming from the audio matrix, and then you have the speaker cables which go to the termination rack and then out to the house. So 17 audio zones in total. So that means there is 4 amplifiers, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then underneath that, we have my AVR, which is the Anthem MRX 740. As you can see, I'm not using the speaker connectors on the Anthem. I'm using RCA outs, and then it has dedicated amplifiers down here. That's probably one of the upgrades that I want to make. This power amplifier only outputs maybe about 50 watts a channel, which is not enough. So hopefully I'll get something else that will be well suited for this. Then underneath that, it's just the Yamaha PX8 for the amplifiers, which is an amplifier for the subwoofers in the theater. So it's got 2 outputs. I want to get another one so that I can have all 4 subwoofers powered through this. And then all the cabling has been nicely managed. Forgive the mess on the corner there. All the amplifiers been cables have been nicely managed on the side, and then on this side, that's where all the power is. So this is an APC PDU. So each one of these I can manually or through the internet turn it off and on. So if anything's not working properly, because everything is attached to this, you can switch it off. So I've got labels for each one, and it's tied into the Control 4. So if one amp is not working, you switch it off and on without having to come to the rack. There you go. That's a look at my rack. Thank you for watching this video. Catch you on the next one.
I do it for real, there's no reason to pretend. If I do it once, I do it again. Add it up,